Hey everybody, welcome to Better Car Washing Everywhere. This is the podcast for you if you are a pro in the car wash industry or if you're just a little car wash curious. Today we're going to be talking about something that really it feels like we've been talking about for a long time in the last few years here. And that is competition. But more specifically, what do you do when competition comes to your market? So maybe you've been lucky enough that you haven't experienced this yet. But the reality is that it is coming, and it's coming for you. So that sounds a little dark. This episode will not be dark. We're full of light and positivity on this show. And to join me to unpack all of this is Tara Baugher. Tara, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
So I don't know how you keep showing up on this show, but I'm here for it.
I think it's because
But
I
I'm here
bother
for
you
it.
a lot. I think that's why.
That's true. That's true. But what are you going to do? The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes. Yeah. And then yep, that's me.
Tara Baugher, squeaky wheel, everyone.
Yes.
Let's talk about competition. You have lived this. You have breathed this. Let's get into a little bit. Let's start a little bit at the top here. Where are we today? What are you seeing today? Obviously, there's been some big news recently with some folks that maybe stumbled a little bit on their car wash adventure. But what are you seeing right now? Is competition as much of a concern? Is there as much movement?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think that movement has definitely slowed down in certain areas, but we also see other areas being developed, right? And being moved in. I think what's changed is instead of like sporadic growth and just trying to hit all the markets, it's a lot more strategic now. And it's a lot more planned, which as it should be. There's been quite a bit of change up top from the big guys, right? Like you said, there's been some stumbles, there has been some huge acquisitions that's really changed the landscape of, the big guys in the industry. So I think absolutely competition is always not necessarily a concern, but a consideration. And I think competition comes for everyone eventually. So it's something that even if you don't have any competition in your area, you should at least think about, okay, what's going to happen if that does happen?
Yeah, I love your framing there of it as a consideration, not a concern.
Right.
Like there's lots of things that you consider in your business, and that just means that you're ready for it. It just means you're ready for it. So let's talk then. How do we get ready for it? I want to know what's the biggest kind of fear that you hear when you're talking to folks in the industry when this is happening, right? They're like, "Oh my gosh, insert X big player is coming into my market. What am I going to do?" What are they most often worried about in your experience?
Yeah, it always comes down to market share and volume, right?
Yeah.
They're worried they're going to steal their traffic, right? And if it's a high volume store, they're worried it's going to take a hit and it's going to redistribute some of that traffic. I'm a big believer in there's plenty of cars on the road and we can
Yeah.
all share, right? If we see the metrics of you want 1% to 2% of road traffic coming through your wash every day as a rule of thumb, that's 1% to 2% of the cars driving in front of your road or driving in front of your car wash. There's a lot of cars left, right? And
Yeah.
it's about what we've seen is the more competition comes into an area, the more people start washing because there's more
Hmm.
advertising, it's more front of mind, right? I think there was a statistic like 70% of people who wash don't think about washing their car until they see a car wash or something that reminds
Hmm.
them to do that, right? So competition again is consideration, not necessarily a concern because it can be very beneficial.
Yeah, it's the same exact concept as what you saw with Starbucks. It's what you see with CVS and Walgreens. Like they're just trying to have more prevalence, more locations, more top of mind to drive spending up all the way. And guess what? All those Starbucks changed the coffee habits of the United States for sure. And
Right.
that's how then you ended up with McDonald's having a little bit of a cult following as it comes to coffee, and then all of
Yes.
these smaller shops benefit from that. So there is benefit to this for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's entire chains that have been born off the coattails of Starbucks.
Hmm.
And it's a very similar, I think that's a great comparison. It's very similar.
So if I'm the small guy in this scenario, I'm the smaller operator. Maybe I've only got one or two. Maybe I got three locations in a metro area, and a group's coming in that I know maybe has 50 locations in a market, and they're now going to come into my market. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't hit the panic button is the first
But
thing.
I want to. But
I
it's
know.
right here. Panic.
I know
Panic.
it's scary. It's scary, right? Because it's the unknown. You don't know what's going
Yeah.
to happen. They have so much more money. They have such a bigger presence, right? And it's intimidating. But one thing that I remind people when I talk to them about competition coming in is you own the market. It is
Mm,
you they are worried about, not the other way around. Is you have the home field advantage, right? Like you've been here, you're in the community, people know you, you have brand equity. You have a larger chain coming in. What do they have? They have enough money to throw at the wall and to get their brand out there, but that doesn't mean they have the relationships you have. That doesn't mean they have the flexibility. And honestly, I think that the smaller guys have such an advantage over the bigger guys because of that very reason.
well, and it also does not mean that they know how to operate the way that you know how to operate.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really big indicator here is you've been doing something great for X number of years in your specific market. There's a reason people are coming to you. Uh, you've consistently put out product that is valuable for folks. So if you keep doing that, there's no reason for them to go anywhere else.
Right.
They might go try something new for a minute, but they're likely going to rebound back to you as long as you stay the course. And maybe like, you should always be getting better, but get like incrementally better.
Right.
Incrementally better.
Right. And I think one of, if not the biggest advantage that smaller operators have is flexibility. And they
Yes.
have the ability to pivot. They have the ability to try different things like a full haunted car wash, like a Christmas tunnel, like doing a local fundraiser. Really ingraining themselves in the community is such an advantage that the big guys cannot do at scale. And they're unwilling to do, and they cannot do it well. So I agree that you always need to keep innovating, and just because something's not broke doesn't mean it can't be improved, right? However, it's not the sky is falling. And to your point,
Right.
you're going to have a dip in traffic. That is just the reality. That is the world. You cannot stop consumers from going and trying them. But what you can do is give them every reason to come back.
So here's an interesting thing to talk through. I think like, we talk a lot about brand, and there's all this research around whether or not a consumer actually knows the car wash that they go to. I think it's changing, it's getting better, but there's still, I just go to the car wash on X corner of X, right? But I want to talk a little bit about how important it is to know your specific brand in this scenario, right? To help keep you on track. So one of my big things is, foundational stuff. You have to know your brand going into these things, and you have to live it fully. So you got to be clear with that brand, and you got to be consistent with that brand. So it goes back to this concept of being a really good operator. You're a good operator because you know your brand and you're living it out in the way that you show up every single day. I think where there's some danger is you might know your brand, but now competition's coming, and now you're going to try to start making some changes. So how do I, like when I think about that, how do I make sure that I don't lose who I am in this kind of competitive process?
Right, right. I think that's a great point. And I think to kind of reinforce what you're saying, knowing your brand is knowing what you do well, right?
Yeah.
What is your advantage, right? And really leaning into that. I think when you're making changes, you have to keep that front of mind. You have to ask yourself, what type of business do I want to be? You
Yep.
always have to ask your question and always check your assumptions as well. The last thing you want to do is panic before competition comes in and start making a bunch of changes that kind of strays away from what you've always been, right? There's nothing, I don't want to say there's nothing wrong, but it can always be improved. But, their customers come to you for a reason, right? They're loyal to you for a reason. Lean into that reason. I think I've said this multiple times before and, on social and things, but you're not selling a clean car, right? You're selling a commodity, you're selling convenience, and you're selling a customer experience. So lean into that. Yeah, you might be putting out a better car than the competition, but I promise you 90% of consumers do not care. I promise you they do not care. Your tunnels might be cleaner. The 90% of the consumers don't even know. They don't even pay attention,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
like you said, they don't even know your brand name. You know, working for Rainforest, I can't tell you how many times people called us Rain Tree, right? And I mean, we had an incredibly distinctive brand, but how did people remember
Yeah.
us? Oh, it's you know, it's the place with the animals and the waterfall and you know, with the lights and stuff. So you have distinctions that make you different, right? It's your customer service, it's how you treat people, maybe your towel drying, maybe it's how you greet people in the back lot. A lot of different things that you could incorporate. Maybe it's how involved you are in the community
Mhm.
into what makes you different and pour yourself more into that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you need to be really careful with is like one you don't want to start giving a whole bunch of stuff away because that's going to really set you up for a bad situation when you have to come back from that. Because once you, again, we've talked about this before, once you start giving things away, you create expectation and you devalue what your offer is anyway. So don't do that. Don't give away the farm. When you've got competition coming in. The other thing is like trust your model, right? So if you're an express, you should probably stay express. Unless you've been contemplating a move to a flex or something different along the way, don't decide that, well, this new company's coming in, maybe I'm going to start offering some flex services. Don't do that unless it's right for your business. Don't do that unless it's right for the people that you are really trying to appeal to, because you're not going to do it well.
Right.
And it's not going to be profitable for you. So just watch out for that stuff. Don't chase the shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you do and do it really, really well.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I also would caution, if you are going to make changes like that because competition's
Mm-hmm.
coming into town, wait until they come into town. You need
Yes.
social proof that what your changes that you're going to make are actually needed, necessary, and desired. So
Yeah.
you need demand for that. So don't start introducing a flex service before competition comes to town just because you want an edge.
Right.
Figure out how the community is going to respond first. Figure out how they're going to operate first before you make those types of rash decisions.
Yep. Yep. So we're talking a little bit about like a tunnel change in their model, right? So let's talk a little bit about like, the in-bay operator out there who gets a little nervous because now there's an express tunnel coming into town. What do you say to them?
Oh man, you want to talk about a differentiator, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Something that I see Enbay doing really well is the us versus them type of model. Is I'm a firm believer that it's two different types of markets, right? There's a friction
Yeah.
washer and then there's the touchless. There is, my fiance is a car guy. He despises friction tunnels, and that obviously goes against everything that I am. So,
Yeah.
but he will only wash at touchless, right? Because of that very reason. Same with like self-serve, right? There's
Yeah.
people out there who care very much about the quality of their wash. Not to say friction people don't, but they are willing to put in the extra time at self-serve, or they're willing to go out of their way to a touchless wash because they care about that. And I think for IBAs and self-serves, lean into that, right? Lean into what makes you different. I am of the opinion that friction and touchless are two different markets. They're two different types of people. And that's okay, right? There's certain models like myself where we had an IBA, self-serve, and a friction tunnel. So kind of like a one-stop shop. But, you're able to serve all of those demographics because, again, two different types of buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It goes back. Like, you got to know who you're appealing to. So just because somebody else is coming in that offers a car wash, it's probably not the same car wash that you're offering, right?
Right.
Those are different products, different customers. Just stay the course.
Right.
It's going to be super uncomfortable and it's going to be super scary, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah, you're going to be
gonna be
okay.
okay.
And it's
Yeah.
something I see too, Matt, to your point, is people will do specials and promos when
Mm-hmm.
another car wash is doing a grand opening. And, you know, you can. I don't think it's necessary because, again, your volume's going to dip no matter what. People are going to
Yeah.
go test the waters. You don't necessarily have to have a promo to battle that. it is what it is. It's consumer behavior. So stay the course. And if you want to make changes, make improvements to your existing business. Don't pull the rug out and try to change everything.
What's something easy that you've seen people do that works well? Something small, like a small change.
So one thing that I've seen work really well that makes a huge difference is, I know I preach this a lot, but people is huge, right? Consistency out at pay station and making sure you're really maximizing your touch points makes a huge difference. One of the biggest retention points when it comes to, lifetime value and things like that are your people on the lot, right?
Yeah.
It is the experience that they give the customers. It's the relationships that they build. So tighten up on your pay stations, right? Make sure that they really know how to talk to the staff. Maybe throw in a vacuum lot rotation where they go in and they talk to people who are vacuuming. Really enhance and think about, okay, where on my lot can I interact with people? Where on my lot can I maximize my opportunities to not only, I think we have to pull kind of like the sales mentality out of our minds a bit, right? And think about, okay, how do I make this better for them? Instead of how do I sell them more things, how do I make this more enjoyable, right? How do I make this more impactful? I think you said once, surprise and delight, right?
Yeah.
Find those opportunities in those touch points.
That's 100%, right? Like you gotta it's rinse and repeat, pun intended. Surprise, delight, and repeat that cycle, right? Surprise, delight, repeat. And that you just want to keep doing that with folks because there's really only a few ways that you can differentiate. And I think that's really in how you look. So like, what's the site look like? How do your people look? Is everything pretty neat and tidy? What you cost, right? You can differentiate. You can be a premium product or you can be the low price offering. Or you can differentiate on how you make people feel. And that's the thing that's going to have you just swimming in lifetime customers. Because if you're building a really great relationship with that customer and you're putting them first, not your business, they're going to feel it. And they're not going to have any reason to worry about anybody else coming into your market because guess what? That's my car wash.
Right. Absolutely.
That's my car wash.
Yeah. And something that's really simple too to build on this, talking about surprise and delight is, again, small operators have the ability to be flexible. So, there's a chain local to me, Sergeant Clean, who gives out roses on Valentine's Day.
Oh, I love
That's
that. I love
incredible.
That. Yeah.
Right? It's incredible. You don't anticipate it, right? People are going to their wash. They probably forget it's Valentine's Day in general.
Yeah,
And, and they're surprised by they're given a rose. Everybody gets a rose. Like, it's incredible. Yeah. There was a wash out in California that gave away little plastic Halloween buckets to the first 200 people who showed up. Right. Yeah. And they put out a massive blast and they were slammed all day because people don't know, like maybe they're the 200th person, right? Maybe not at 3 p.m., but still, it still drives a lot of traffic and it's surprising to people and it gets them excited to come on site, right? What are they going to do next, right? Oh, that's so cool. It creates a lasting memory.
Yeah, there's a little scarcity in there too, right? Like,
absolutely.
It's like, oh my gosh, I want a bucket.
Right.
How do I get the bucket? Give me the bucket.
Right. It might be $2 at Dollar General, but I want it.
Right. You could go get the bucket, but that's not the same thing.
Nope.
Right?
It doesn't.
It's way more cool if my car wash gives me the bucket.
Yes.
It just, I don't know, feels better.
Yes.
Feels better. Let's go into a little bit of a mindset thing here. So we've talked a little bit about like what can I do if somebody's coming into my market, and we've kind of doubled down on, do the things you do, keep doing them really well. Make sure you're incrementally getting better, right? This idea that you only have to be slightly better than average. Just do it all the time. Like always be slightly better than average. But let's talk a little bit about how we can kind of think through the mindset, right? So how do we try to get ourselves comfortable and shift mindset from this sort of fixed mentality that this is all just happening to me, like it's happening to my business and I can't do anything about it, to this growth mindset where we think we can get better and we can achieve this incremental growth that we're talking about. So for you, when you think about people who maybe are in this scared state. And when you've consulted with folks to help them like move from that into like, hey, it's going to be fine. What are the things that you kind of coach them on? Like, what have you helped
Yeah.
them do?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I really like to speak on is the confidence that they should have in their brand. And again, it's
Mm,
a wash. They are the people who are entering a new market. You are existing in that market. Again, you have the upper hand. I think
yeah.
oftentimes operators, they see the big guys coming in and their big dollars, and they're like, holy crap, like what am I going to do? And I said, no, 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 it's what they are going to do, right? Because this is your market. You have the brand equity, right? So you
Yeah.
really have the power here. And really leaning into that and reminding them people are with you for a reason, right? Kind of like how we've
Yeah.
mentioned a couple times is they're washing with you for a reason, right?
Hmm.
And lean into that. If they go and try the competition, which many of them will, most might, they're going to come back, right? Because again, they have a loyalty with you, they have a familiarity with you. The majority of the people who go and try will come back if you're doing the right things. And it is competition is a reality of the world, right? It
Yeah.
happens every day in every industry. Does not have to be a bad thing, right? So a great example is for me locally, Take Five was huge around me.
Yeah.
And it was a strong direct competitor. Anytime we didn't even feel a dent, right? It didn't
Mm,
impact us simply because we kept marching on and continued to do what we did. But also, you're almost able to use that as an advantage, right? Like again, we are able to be flexible. We're able to pour into the community, right? We operate really well. And you're almost able to use that as a us versus them type of deal where, right, we are locally owned, we're homegrown, we're one of
yeah.
you
Yeah.
versus corporate.
As long as you believe that, right? As long
You
as you
have
believe
to.
that, as long as that is your business, that's going to
Yes.
work, right?
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely. And yeah.
I want to talk. I want to lay out a couple of the kind of key elements of what a fixed mindset looks like for people because I think like if you're an operator and you're sitting in this space and this resonates with you, what I'm about to read, you got to find ways to get out of this space. So I'm going to read these off. I'm cheating a little bit here. I'm going to read this off. So key elements of a fixed mindset: believing that intelligence is fixed, right? So you can't get any smarter, you can't learn anything new. Avoiding challenges, giving up easily, and taking any feedback as a personal attack. Guess what, friends? This happens in the car wash space. Like I have seen some of my friends in this space get defensive, take that feedback negatively, and just feel like everything is happening to you. If you can flip it, right? A growth mindset is all about how can I embrace the challenge? How can I embrace the competition coming in? How can I continue to persist and move forward? And I believe that it can get better, right? I'm going to seek out feedback. Hey, customers, what do you really like about what we're doing? And what might we do to like keep earning your business every time you come in? And then just having this idea of being open and like ready to learn every single day, right? So those are the kind of differences, right? Like it's at the most basic level, fixed mindset, stuff's happening to me that I can't do anything about. Growth mindset, I can do whatever I think I can learn enough to go do, right? So
Right.
if you find yourself getting a little defensive about feedback, you might be sitting in a fixed mindset space, and that's going to be really hard for you to overcome competition coming into your market.
Right. Absolutely. Because, I mean, you're competing with your own mindset at that point, right?
Yeah,
It is an opportunity, right? It's a scary one. It's something that could be challenging, but you
yeah,
have to look at it from the opposite sides. Again, there's statistically, as competition comes in, people wash more, right? More people
yeah,
are going to wash their car. Lean on that, right? Use
yeah.
it to your advantage. Show the difference between us and them.
One, the good news is, at least from my perspective, is that most people that I've met in this industry over the last 2 decades or whatever it's been now, I guess it's almost 2 decades. Most people I've met in this industry, they started with a growth mindset. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? Like you come in and you're ready to grow and learn and expand and do all these things. But sometimes, right, you get a little burned out and you get a little bit complacent maybe in what you're doing, or like it just feels like too much. So then you can slip into that other kind of fixed mindset. You can come back because it's in you. It's in you, especially in car washing.
Right.
Especially in car washing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a saying that, you start something for one reason and you continue it for another.
Right.
You have to find that other reason to keep going and find that kind of fire. Don't just lay down because you don't need to.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, it's almost, again, you have the advantage. Don't think otherwise.
I love the piece about really doubling down on the community. Now, again, it goes back to like what we've been saying, that you have to believe in that. That has to be a core company value for that to work. But people, there's never been a bigger need for community impact in at least in the United States. And so there's a huge opportunity for you if you are the local car wash and you have a couple locations, or maybe you only have one location, depending on where you are. There's a huge opportunity for you to do more in that space, and you will reap those benefits. I mean, you will reap those benefits.
Yes, it's a bit of a longer play. It's more of a branding play. But it's absolutely worth it. I can't tell you how many times you hear customers saying, well, I started washing here because you sponsored my kids, sports team, or you're really involved in a high school and I'm a part of the PTA or whatever. If you get involved where your community is, it makes a big impact.
Well, and I will say, like, we were talking about don't give things away and don't like throw the whole farm at the problem. But one space where I think that you can do a lot is in this community building kind of philanthropic side, because those are the relationships that you can pour into that are going to pay off for years to come. And guess what? Any big company's go-to-market strategy, when they're coming into a new location or a new market, they're trying to get boots on the ground in that community. You know what that means? They're talking to schools. They're trying to do school fundraisers. They're trying to do anything they can do to sponsor these pipelines of consumers and customers. So if you've already got those established relationships, you're in a pretty good seat.
Right. Absolutely. And you have the foundation. Right. And it is so important. Again, car washes were restricted to the community around us. So you have to feed into them and they will feed back into you.
Yeah. Build your moat.
Yes.
Build your moat.
Yes.
Maybe don't have a drawbridge. I don't know. Just build the moat. Everybody has to swim. I don't know. Cars can't get in if you don't have a drawbridge.
Well, that's true. That is true. It's a good point.
Oh, that's the next big wash. Somebody's probably built one. Somebody's got like a giant castle somewhere that is a car wash.
I love it. You know me, I'm a sucker for a themed wash. I need a castle car wash with a moat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, there is the Delta Queen, which is a cruise boat out in California. Not quite a castle, but same concept.
That's cool. It's
a 2-story tall wooden car wash sitting on water.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Funny. All right. Anything else? If I'm a small operator, is there anything else that I need to be considering when it comes to competition coming into my market?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else so much as it's just kind of summarizing what we've talked about, and it's take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Yes, there's going to be an inevitable drop in traffic. It happens. I promise the sky is not falling. I promise it'll be okay. If you stick to what you know and you make improvements either on a customer journey, maybe even in the tunnel, replacing some old equipment, whatever you may do, stick to your guns and it will be okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's invest in your business, right? So that means invest in the physical locations, invest in the equipment if you have to, invest in your people, and invest in your community. So you got to invest in the business, your people, and your community, and I think you're going to be just fine.
Yep.
I think you're going to be just fine.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, not to deviate from super serious conversation, but I want to know something a little human, just to bring it back to to what we're here to talk about today. So, talk to me a little bit about what question do I want to ask you today? Because you don't know this one's coming.
No, I don't.
You don't. You don't. Tell me. Tell me maybe a time in recent history when you were surprised and delighted. Like what was an experience you had with a brand that really like made you think, man, that's amazing.
Oh man, Matt.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't have one either. I have to think about this,
Yeah. Oh man. Maybe
which
I
maybe
should have
speaks to the
prepped for this.
opportunity. Maybe this speaks
Yeah.
to the opportunity, right?
Yeah,
That
I
we all
definitely
have.
should have prepped for that. I think, oh gosh, can I speak to an experience I heard from someone else, possibly not mine?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So I was visiting an operator last week and he's trying out a new point of sale. And he's talking to me about how great the customer service is and the experience and how it's a newer point of sale and they're really involved. And he told me something that really, really surprised him is the other day he got a call from one, I think it was the owner or the VP, and they were just saying, hey, how are things going? What can we do better? How can
Oh,
we better serve you? And from a vendor perspective into an operator relationship, that's huge, right? How often do you have a vendor calling and saying, hey, how can we serve you better? What can we do better for you? Right? It is talk about surprise and delight, right?
yeah,
Imagine, if you flip that and from an operator to consumer, right? Consumer survey, how can we serve you better? What can we do better for you? I think that's huge, right? Personal contact and reaching out to people on a human basis is that surprises and delights me.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one because you never get that kind of personal outreach.
Never. No.
That is a huge opportunity to differentiate if you can get
Yes.
one on one, right? One on one.
Yes. Absolutely. What about you, Matt?
Oh, I knew I had to come back, and I was dreading this moment. This is what happens when you try to put other people on the spot, right?
Yes,
It
it
comes
comes
full
right back to
circle.
you. Yep.
Let's see. Surprise and delight. I think. Well, I can tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't
Okay.
it was not the bakery that I went into. So I'm walking down Main Street in a little small community here in Minnesota, and I look to my left, and there's a beautiful bakery, and I'm like, oh, this is new. I haven't been in here. Let's go check it out. And I'm a sucker for like a sweet treat, so I walk in, and I'm like, oh, there's so much potential here. This could be great. It's a great spot. It's like a little local coffee kind of vibe, and there's plenty of space to sit. And I go up to the counter, and there's like everything you could ever want from a baked good perspective. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna have to be careful here. I'm gonna blow my whole bank account in this space.
Right.
But I look, I'm like, okay, there's a couple chocolate chip cookies that look pretty good. I want two chocolate chip cookies, and gonna get this coconut macaroon. And I get it. I'm like super excited. I walk out the door, and I'm walking down Main Street back to go get my son, and I take a bite of the cookie, and it's oatmeal raisin,
Oh
not
no.
chocolate chip.
It's the ultimate betrayal.
And I like oatmeal raisin cookies, all right, but like I wanted chocolate chip, and it just and so I didn't know what to do, so I just ate the cookies anyway. But I don't know. Like I should have probably walked back in and given them the opportunity to
Right.
surprise and delight me by giving me half a dozen cookies or something to that effect. But it didn't work out that way because I was too scared. I had a fixed mindset that just happened to me, and there was nothing I could do about it
Gonna
except for
accept
eat
it.
the cookies. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
eat the cookies.
Yep.
They were still
Yep.
good. They were still good.
Instead of surprise and delight, it was disappointment and sadness.
It was disappointment and sadness followed with a little bit of delight. I mean, they were
Yeah. I
pleasant.
mean,
You know.
they're still good cookies, but nothing
Yeah.
like a chocolate chip.
Well, the saddest part of that whole story though is if they keep giving out oatmeal raisin cookies instead of chocolate chip, they're not going to last very long.
Nope. Nope, not strong enough.
That's what's unfortunate for them. But
Yeah.
anyway, I promise to have a better surprise and delight story next time.
Okay. I will hold you to that.
Oh, perfect. Well, friends, if you are listening or watching, wherever you're consuming this podcast, make sure you rate us, subscribe to us, do all the things. And more importantly, if you could just go ahead and sign up so that we can email you every time we drop an episode, that will make sure you never miss one. More important than that, though, if you're out there today and you're interacting with people, remember, be kind, but take one step further and tell somebody that you run into, or tell somebody who's on your mind that they're making a difference for you, because that really matters, and we don't hear it enough. And that's my personal crusade. So go out there, tell somebody that matters to you that they do. And until next time, we'll just keep talking about chocolate chip cookies.
Not oatmeal raisin.
Not oatmeal raisin.